Hey guys, welcome. We are doing lesson 19 for Wit and Wisdom. So let's get started. So who is out there banging and pounding at my door on a night like this? A cold wind pushed Owl against the wall. The snow whirled up the stairs and whooshed down the hallway. So what are the sensory words that tell us what the wind sounds like or what the snow looks like? Now remember, senses being eyes for sight, nose for smelling, mouth for tasting, ears for hearing, and hands for touching. So for sight, I see the winter whirling down the hallway. Hearing, I hear whooshed and banging and pounded. And for touch, it's cold. But then he pushed me also, right? Great. All right, our focus question is, how do characters respond to the powerful force of the wind? That means, how do they react to this force of the wind? Our content framing, what is the central message of the guest? That means the overall message of the story. So why do we find the central message of the text we read? Why do we do that? We want to know what the story's about, right? We want to know the lesson that is supposed to come from the story we read. So we are going to analyze Owl's feelings for the next few minutes. So we're going to try to make a guess based on facts and observations. So let's think of the story. How do you think he feels throughout this story? Well, at the beginning of the story, he was very calm. He was laid back. He was happy, right? Yes. All right. But then, he's inviting winter in, so he's being kind. But then winter comes and takes over his whole house and destroys it, right? With snow and everything. How does Owl feel then? He's angry and he's upset, isn't he? He feels like, well, he's not my friend. I don't like him anymore. So he's feeling betrayed. So let's look at some pages and find out how Owl feels on those pages. So I'm going to look at page 8 and I'm going to read it to you. No one was there, only the snow and the cold. The poor old winter is knocking at my door, said Owl. Perhaps it wants to sit by the fire. Well, I will be kind and let the winter come in. So how's Owl feeling right there? He's feeling kind-hearted. Feeling kind. Nice, right? Yeah, okay. Well, let's look at page 14 and 16. Let's look at 14 first. Winter went into all the rooms of Owl's house. Soon everything was covered with snow. You must go, Winter, shouted Owl. Go away right now. So how did he feel there? He was angry. He was upset. Right? Okay, let's look at 16. Owl made a new fire in the fireplace. The room became warm again and the snow melted away. The hard green ice turned back into a soft pea soup. Owl sat down in his chair and quietly finished his supper. How do you think he's feeling now? Probably relieved that winter is gone. He's calm. Probably feels good now. Okay, relieved. That's not how you spell relieved. R-E-L-I-E-V-E-D. There we go. I misspelled relieved, my friends. I fixed it. Relieved, calm, and good. So do you see how the feelings of Al has changed throughout this story? He went from being calm, cool, and collective, kind, nice, to angry and upset, but he went back into relieved, calm, and good, and being nice again, right? So his feelings changed throughout the story, didn't they? Yes, because of something that happened. And that sometimes happens to us too, doesn't it? When something makes us upset, we can switch just like that with our feelings, can't we? But then we can change back our feelings. Our feelings don't always stay the same. Our feelings go up and can go down. It just depends what's going on with us. All right, so now we're going to identify the central message of our story. We're going to notice about how Al and Winter act together. So how do they act together? They don't really interact together because what happens? Winter comes in, kind of takes over, doesn't he? He comes in and pushes Owl, and then he goes through every room of Owl's house and throws snow everywhere, destroying his house. And that makes Owl upset. So they don't interact together. Owl thought he was going to be nice, letting him in because he thought he was cold. He wasn't. He came in and destroyed his house. So what do you think the central message of this text is? Well, let's think about that. What do you think the central message is? Do you think maybe it's to be careful who you let in your home? Or maybe just because you're nice to someone doesn't mean they're going to be nice to you? Or could it be it's hard to get rid of some guest? Remember, Winter didn't want to leave. Owl opened the door and Winter slammed it shut after he left out. So it's hard to control some things. So what I would think would be our message would be just because you're nice to someone doesn't mean they're going to be nice to you. You can try with all your might to be nice to somebody. But if they've got it in their head they're not going to be nice, then they won't. All right? So what evidence in the text supports that message? Well, let's look and see. Just because you're nice to someone doesn't mean they'll be nice to you. Think about it. Owl's at the door and told Winter not to come back. Owl is nice and lets Winter inside. Okay. Winter pushes Owl. That wasn't very nice, was it? Winter blew out the fire. Well, that wasn't nice because then Owl's going to get cold, wasn't he? Owl yelled at Winter to stop. Winter didn't listen. He just kept on destroying his house. Winter messed up all the rooms in Owl's house. He put snow everywhere. Now, when you go to someone's house, do you go into every room and just throw things around? No. You're expected to go in and be nice and sit still and do what you're supposed to do, right? So just because you're nice to someone doesn't mean that they're going to be nice to you. And in this case, was Winter nice to Owl? He was not. He was not. But was Owl nice to him? He was, because he opened the door to let him in, to be kind, to not be rude. But then Winter went and destroyed everything at Owl's home. So he wasn't willing to take that extra step to be nice. All right. So you will need assessment 18A and handout 18B. Apparently I cannot talk today. And then we are going to complete 18A, task 3 individually. And when finished, you're going to complete handout 19A. So I am going to mute that and I am going to share my screen with you. So let's look at 18 This is the story map. Remember the characters? Who were the characters in The Guest? We had Owl and Winter, right? Where did it take place? Owl's home, right? Okay. What was the problem? Well, the problem was that Winter came in and didn't want to leave. He was destroying Owl's house. What was the response? Owl said what? Get out of my house, right? Mm-hmm. And the resolution was Owl opened the door, Winter left and slammed the door behind him. Owl was able to start his fire again, eat his soup, and sit down because the snow had started to melt. So Owl got Winter to leave finally. Okay, so that's our guest map there. Let's look at the next one, 18B, our focus question. So our focus question for this, it says draw a picture or write to show the elements of the story. All right, so we've got the owl and Owl's house, and then you can draw out the problem if you want to. How would you draw out the problem? Maybe you would draw Owl in his house and Winter whooshing through. Okay. And how would you draw a response to the problem? Maybe Owl sitting there with the speech bubble going, I need you to leave and leave right now. And then the resolution was when Winter left the house and Owl sitting back down at the fire, correct? Okay. So that's our other story map. Let's look at this one, a narrative writing checklist. Normally, I don't put these out there. Bless you. But you need to make sure that your characters are there, your setting, your problem, and your order of words. Okay, so that's what that is for. So with that, you are going to write a story, okay? Let me stop sharing. Okay, you're going to write a story today. And this story is based on the characters Owl from Owl at Home. So imagine Owl has a new problem with the wind. You're going to write a story describing how Owl responds. You're going to select one of the problems listed, or what I'm saying, okay? Listed below. 1, the wind is too hot. So you could write about Owl having a problem with the wind being too hot. Or you could write about the wind is blowing rain in his house. Or 3, you can write about the wind blowing Owl's papers all over the house. So think about what you want to write about, okay? Owl has a new problem with the wind. You need to describe how Owl responds to it. So one of the problems could be the wind is too hot. 2, the wind is blowing rain in the house. Or 3, the wind is blowing Owl's papers. So just pick one of those, okay? And you're going to write a story and turn that in. Okay, so let's go back to our board up here. All right, so So the central message of the guest is being kind to someone doesn't mean that they're going to be kind to you. So what is one important message you learned from this story? Maybe not everybody's going to be so kind, right? Yeah. All right. So our fluency passage, let's look at our fluency. I'm going to share my screen. Where's my mouse? Maybe not. I must not have put it up there, my friends. So give me 1 second and we'll get it up there because we've got to have it. All right, here we go. So our fluency homework, The Guest by Arnold LaBelle. Remember, it's between the narrator and the owl, okay? Owl was at home. Owl, how good it feels to be sitting by this fire. It is so cold and snowy outside. Owl was eating buttered toast and hot pea soup for supper. Owl heard a loud sound at the front door. Who is out there banging and pounding at my door on a night like this? Owl opened the door. No one was there, only the snow and the wind. The snow whirled up the stairs, whooshed down the hallway. Winter, you are my guest. This is no way to behave. But Winter did not listen. It made the window shades flap and shiver. It turned the pea soup into hard green ice. Winter went into all the rooms of Owl's house. Soon everything was covered with snow. You must go, Winter. Go away right now. All right. All right, so let's look back at my board. Okay. So let's look at our deep dive. It says, read the following sentences and determine past, present, or future for each sentence. This first sentence says, Owl watched the fire. Now let's find the verb there. Our verb is watched. How does watched end? It ends with an ED, and we know that ED means it is past tense. So Owl watched the fire is past tense. Okay, let's look at the next one. Owl opened the door. What's the verb? Opened. And the ending on ED, so that tells me it is past tense also. All right, let's look at the third sentence. The guest is banging on the door. What's the verb? Banging. What's the ending there? ING. So ING means it is present tense. It's happening right now. Number 4, the guest will visit again soon. The verb is will visit, but what special word is added there? Will. And that tells us it's going to be future because it says we'll visit again soon, meaning it's going to happen later on. All right, and number 5, Owl will sleep well tonight. Will sleep is the verb. The special word is will. That tells us it is future, that it will happen later because someone's coming over to sleep tonight. Okay? So remember, how do I use verb tenses in a sentence? Well, if the verb ends with ed, it's past tense. If the verb is ending in ing, it's happening right now. If the verb has will in front of it, means it will happen, but right now. It's going to happen later on. Okay? Great. Okay, so let's fill in the blanks here. The guest blank on the door yesterday. The guest knocked. Okay, so let's look at this. When did it happen? Yesterday. That means it's in the past tense. So this right here, that ed on there tells us that is past tense. So that verb is past tense. The guest will knock on the door. Okay, we've got that special word will there. So that tells me it's going to happen later on. That means it is future. The guest is knocking the door. So that means somebody's knocking on the door right now. That means it's happening now. It's in the present. That's why we have an ing on the verb. All right. So that is the end of this lesson. Please remember that your assignment is to write that paragraph about the owl, okay? His new problem. So that means you need to write your story about Owl and his new problem with the wind. Either it's too hot, or it's blowing rain in the house, or it's blowing his papers around, okay? Remember, you have to have the characters, the setting, a problem, and how it's fixed, all right? I can't wait to read your stories. So until tomorrow, guys, bye. Have a great day.